welcome back again to the Good Girl Confessional podcast. I'm your host, Sandy Lowrys, and the Good Girl Confessional podcast is proudly the podcast of the award-winning platform WB40, Women Beyond 40, a platform for women 40, 50, 60 and beyond who want to talk about grown-up stuff, taboo or otherwise. You can check us out at wb40.com. Today in the podcast, I would also like to mention a powerful book that I am involved with and super proud to be. It is called The Power to Rise Above. It seems really fitting for today's podcast. The Power to Rise Above is a powerful book where 30 women from around the world have come together to share our stories of overcoming bullying or trauma. And you can find the book at thepowertoriseabove.com.au. Before we begin today's podcast, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which this podcast is recorded. And in my case, it's the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations. And I would like to pay my deep respects to their elders, past, present, and those emerging, and pay homage to their ancient history as storytellers. Today in the podcast, I am talking to a kick-ass woman, a woman that the New York Journal actually referred to as one of their top 30 disruptors to watch out for. Disrupting is a brilliant term for her, I will say. Hacia Atherton is taking on the male-dominated space of trades, plumbing, building, construction, electricians, whatever it may be. She has created Empowered Women in Trades. It's a powerful charity and movement which is trying to place vulnerable women in trades jobs and at the same time working to advocate to change bad toxic behaviours within these spaces. She's pretty incredible. She has walked away luckily from an earth-shattering accident that she had where she actually fell from a horse. It's a powerful story. She's incredible. I am super proud to be chatting to Hacia in the confessional today. Please welcome her with open arms. And what a brilliant and powerful podcast to be sharing with you in this week of the International Women's Day.
Hey there. When Sandy's not interviewing kick-ass women, she's hanging out with me at Alex the Seal, a podcast about music and nostalgia. I'm Jo Pybus, and each episode, Sandy and I talk about all the songs that got us hooked up, knocked up, and broken up. Do yourself a favour and search Alex the Seal on your podcast app. Love you, Molly.
Hello, Hacia, and welcome to the Good Girl Confessional this morning. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited to have you actually because I am loving everything that you are doing because I love a chick who is kicking down doors in male-dominated spaces, and that's you in a nutshell. How are you today?
I am great, and yes, I'm definitely taking on the biggest boys' club in Australia, which is our skilled trades industry. Women represent 3% of skilled trades, and in some trades like plumbing and metal trades, they're not even a full percentage yet. So there's a lot of concrete walls to bulldoze down in this industry.
Wow. I was actually quite shocked when I read that it's only 3% of women that make up trades. Like in Australia, I was a bit gobsmacked because I had hoped, I guess, over the years and thought that those sort of stats would be improving, but in actual fact, they're really not, are they?
Well, it took 10 years to go from 1% to 3%. So that's a very slow crawl to increasing the numbers.
Wow. So I should tell all of our beautiful listeners today that the extraordinary thing that you've done is you've not just like looked at that because you come from a family of tradespeople. And when I say tradespeople, I'm going to say tradesmen because really I'm guessing prior to your involvement in all of this, there probably weren't any female trade role models in your family.
No, so I'm a fifth generation plumbing family. My great-great-grandfather was one of the founding contractors of the Master Plumbers Association. There's been 4 male Atherton presidents of the Master Plumbers Association, and my great-great-grandfather was also on the plumbing union that got the 8-hour day. So I've got a long history of inspirational tradesmen in my family, but I'm the first female Atherton to get involved in this space.
Wow, that's phenomenal. And you have created something which is quite mind-blowing, to be honest. So I love these stories because it's like anyone sitting at home listening to this who thinks, oh, I see issues in a certain space, but it's too hard to take it on. You have fully taken on this industry. You've created something pretty amazing. So you're the company director um, uh, of basically you're the founder of the Empowered Women in Trades, EWIT charity.
Yes.
Tell us all about that, how it started, how you got involved, and what drives it.
Yeah. So a lot of it started when I uncovered my own unconscious bias. So with such a pedigree in trades, you would have thought, wow, why didn't she go into trades? And our family company manufactures medical infection control equipment. So not only did I have plumbing on my back doorstep, I had welding, fitter and turner, tool maker, electrical, like an array of different trades I could have gone and explored. But my own unconscious bias was, you're smart, you're going to a private school, you've got to go to uni, become an accountant, etc., etc. And then when I finished all of that study, Dad said, now go and learn the factory side of the company. You've got the academic side and the business academia. Now go learn the other side of how the company works. So he put me to work in the factory for 6 months, and I absolutely fell in love with welding. Like, it sparked my soul. I was just 29 at the time. I was a very high level dressage rider. So I had a mortgage and 2 very expensive horses and a car loan and everything like that. And I just thought, wow, imagine if I hadn't had that unconscious bias and asked Dad when I was 15, 16 if I could have had this experience, how different my life would have been, because I probably would have gone off and done a welding apprenticeship and got the tickets. I also love diving, so I might have become a deep sea diver welder or something really cool like that. And so that really sparked my interest. I was very aware of, one, the skill shortage Australia is experiencing and was experiencing back then, and 2, that you didn't see that many women. I didn't know the dire straight percentage, so I started to research, and at that time it was 2%. I think when I looked at it, plumbers were 0.5% and your metal trades were around 0.3% of women were in these trades. And especially with me falling in love with the metal trade, I was like, what do you mean 0.3% of metal trades are women? Like, this is an awesome job.
It's so funny to me because I look, I just had a total like memory thing, right, of the movie Flashdance. Now you might be too young for that, I don't
No,
know, but
I
in the 80s, anyone
remember.
who's right,
Absolutely.
Flashdance, where she was this beautiful dancer, but at the same
Yeah,
time, it was so controversial that she was a woman in welding, and she was a
exactly.
welder, and the sparks were flying, and all of it. And I remember at the time thinking, wow, that looks like really cool. But I also remember growing up that the boys were leaving school back, like I'm in my 50s. So the boys were leaving, either they went through to year 12 in uni or they dropped out of school. Well, they didn't drop out. They left school at year 9 to pursue apprenticeships,
Yeah.
in the trades, right? That's what happened. Now times have changed where people are going to year 12 and then doing pre-apprenticeship courses and then doing trades. So times have
Yeah.
changed regardless. But you're right. I don't remember, if I'm honest. I do not. And we had Kylie Minogue neighbours who was, a mechanic. And all of these were sort of these token kind of female centric
Yeah.
characters we were watching. But really, in real life, I didn't know any female mechanics or welders or plumbers or electricians actually at the time. I have met women, obviously, since who do that, but I didn't know anybody.
No, no. And it's, as I said, it's taken 10 years to go from 1% to 3% of trades nationally across all skilled trades. But 3%, like, that's not even a man of many people that go to the footy grand final that are females in these industries. So, yeah, so that kind of really sparked my what's going on here. So I started speaking to a lot of women around why they weren't considering these career pathways. There was the obviously bias, the unconscious bias, but then a very conscious bias where women said it's just not an opportunity for me. Like, we had a female welder who her name, she shortened it to a male's name to try and get people to even call her back from her resume, and they would answer the phone and go, "I'll put me onto your partner," and she'd be like, "No, this is me," and they'd hang up on her. So women were just saying to me, it's just not an opportunity. It's very, very hard for us to even get a go in the industry. And then unfortunately, at that time when I was starting the research, I had a very bad life-threatening horse riding accident. So my young horse, we were training to go to the World Equestrian Games, and she reared up. I fell off and she came and fell on top of me. So that crushed me pretty badly. Luckily, I was sitting up. So she only crushed like my pelvis and my coccyx and my right leg and everything. If I was lying down, we wouldn't be here having this conversation.
Oh, Hacia, like this is another yet another bloody mind-blowing thing that I found out about you, and I was like, really. And before we went on, I did, we kind of, I just said, am I allowed to delve into your life or know about these things? Because I do understand that for some people, reliving things like this can be really traumatic, and so I want everyone to know. And I'm glad that you raised it.
Yes. Well, because they're very linked. Because that accident, I lost my opportunity to walk, and I just kept hearing that word from all the women I was speaking to. It's just an opportunity we can't access, and we all think we've got the right to have the opportunity to walk naturally. And when I lost something that we have a natural right to access, I really emotionally connected to what these women were saying, because they have a natural right. Women have a natural right to have gainful, meaningful employment. And if they're passionate about welding, there shouldn't be massive roadblocks in the way for them to pursue a passion. So that's when I started to get really passionate about it. I guess my own anger and fear of losing my opportunity to walk. Doctors kept telling me I was never going to walk again. And so that all kind of came together. I was in hospital for 6 months after the accident. So I had a lot of time to like research and kind of go, right, what's going on? What are the barriers? What are happening? So I spent a lot of my time in hospital actually researching the topic as well.
Yeah, wow. Um, let's talk about that just for a minute. That I'm glad, like in some ways, that it kind of afforded you an opportunity that you didn't realize, which was time
Yes.
to be looking at other things. But let's not underestimate how traumatic this experience was for you in terms of, as you said, one of your great passions in life was equestrian riding and
Yeah.
having two beautiful horses that, you loved, and this happened. One thing I want to just quickly ask, because I know people will ask me, how was the horse after the accident?
Yeah, she was fine. She got up. I broke her fall. She got up. Because actually, well, when she was starting to get up, I actually flipped over onto my tummy and army crawled out of the way, dragging my legs because I couldn't move either of my legs so that she didn't trample me when she got up. But she got up, shook the sand off her bum, and ran back to her paddock and started eating her dinner. So she was absolutely fine and got dinner probably earlier than she would have.
Oh, good grief. And so did you knew instantly, or you didn't know instantly? You must have been in shock, I'm guessing that.
Yeah, the pain didn't kind of connect with my brain until obviously I was away and safety, and it's amazing how your body just goes into this like save yourself adrenaline mode, and I was able to get away from her, and then I kind of just collapsed, and this flooding of pain that it was almost like my brain couldn't process the amount of pain that I was in. So it was that shock and everything like that. The fact I couldn't move either of my legs, I thought I'd broken my spine. So I thought, that's it, we're done. Luckily, I'd only fractured my coccyx. So as much as there's severe nerve damage to my right leg, I was able to defy the doctors and teach myself.
Hello, Sandy here from the Good Girl Confessional Podcast. The Good Girl Confessional Podcast is proudly brought to us by WB40, a platform for women 40, 50, 60 and beyond. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like to see the rest of the video, please head over to WB40.com and subscribe to WB40 Extra. By subscribing to WB40 Extra, you're helping to support the hard-won wisdom of incredible women. So thank you. Please remember to like, share and follow.